Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Mothers after Thanksgiving. We're sitting in that wild in between. Of course, we're trying to appreciate every second, but we're also between two kingdoms known as Thanksgiving and Christmas, or Hanukkah, or both, and at least New Year's. It's a time where levity is key, which is why today's guest is so useful. Lynn Harris emerged from the great town of Lexington, Massachusetts, aka the birthplace of two equally important things. One, Rachel Dratch. Yes, they are friends. And two, American liberty. The new Ken Burns doc has been on repeat here. And because I'm basically a historian now, I can confirm that the first shot of the American Revolution was indeed fired in Lexington on April 19th, 1775. Don't tell me I never taught you anything. Lynn survived both Windsor, Lynn survived both Windsor and Yale to pursue a career in comedy, which she has bundled in various ways with communications, activism, journalism, writing, and her own business venture, Gold Comedy, which she started as a way to get more women and non-binary folks into comedy. Amen to that. It's essentially an online comedy school and, in many ways, a comedy or comedian incubator, offering classes, celebrity mentorship, and community for people that want to pursue showbiz, or just learn the important life skill that is how to be funny. For some of us, we have a specific destination. For others, we're completely open. Lynn is also a mother of 2 kids and is married to a rabbi, so the material keeps on coming. Lynn describes her career as a braiding together of things. And I think that's a wonderful way to think about how our lives and work can sort of materialize over time. For some of us, we have a specific destination. For others, we're completely open. And for the rest of us, we may have had a destination, but life expands. So it's on us to see and pull the strands together as we go. Before I turn it over to Lynn, 2 things. First, thank you to the 29% of listeners who are also followers on Spotify and Apple. I'm saying this figure out loud because it's what Mel Robbins does, and it's basically the same percent, so I don't feel bad. If you're not in that 29%, please take a moment to follow us so you don't miss an episode. Second, I started this podcast for many reasons, but on the top was because I'd found myself in a professional existence that didn't really feel like me. And I was surrounded by other women with kids who found themselves in organizations and roles that they suddenly realized, quote, weren't built for them. We're trying to create a conversation and a space that is built for us, so more people can feel like themselves. And from that feeling, figure out what they want their work and life to look like. In our interview, Lynn passed along career wisdom she gained from Gina Davis, who told her to, quote, seek out spaces that make you feel like you. If these conversations are meaningful to you, please share them with someone in your life who might be looking for more spaces to feel like who they are. And with that, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this venture. And please enjoy my conversation with Lynn Harris. Learned belatedly there's some like global outage of all Amazon's warehouse of all everything on the internet is like now slightly effed up because Amazon's. I love when these massive global outages happen because then we realize that tech really is carrying everything everywhere for better and
how
often for
vulnerable
worse.
we are, how connected,
Yes.
vulnerable we are. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I still remember when Facebook was new, but people were so addicted to like what Facebook was then, the thing that is so weird now.
Right.
But when it would, and people would be like resentful over it, angry about it, and then it would go out. There was one day I was at work and it went out. Everyone was just like, "What the fuck, Facebook? Like, how could you take this away from me?" And I'm just like, dude, it's good to live without these things sometimes. But anywho's, how's your Monday? How's your weekend?
It's rather more a little intense. So I won't bring down the room, but just trying to get a fresh start on Monday. So
good. Well, okay.
So
Let's call this fresh.
Yeah. The good thing was you saw my kid in college and they were in a play and the play was terrible, but they were great. They were great. So we had a great time seeing them.
Do you give that feedback or are you just like, yay, child,
No,
good job?
Got in the car and my husband said, we shall not speak of this for 5 years. I mean, seriously, I mean, my kid is a really good actor. So like, not kidding. I'm not just like being polite. They're fantastic. But the play, like, I was like, I thought it would, I literally thought it might not end. mean,
What play was
it
it?
was a kid, a freshman a sophomore had written it. And I just
Oh.
think no one told the playwright. No, I don't think they had any grown-up feedback.
Mm.
Which, and kids are great. I mean, I don't mean to like throw kids under the bus, but like no one told them what a play is or how to edit, because it was just a lot of
Yeah.
long conversations and nothing actually happened. And it wasn't
Ugh.
experimental either. Like that would be one thing if it was
Mhm.
experiment. It wasn't. So,
Yeah.
and it was 2.5 hours with
Oh, God.
intermission, and we were like, yeah. So anyway, it's okay.
Unless you're Titanic, you can't do that to
Yeah,
me.
but it was great. It was it was. I'm glad it was it was good. We were proud of our
Oh,
kids.
good. Those live events bring you together.
Yes.
Okay, well, we can make this a fresh start. A happy Monday.
Yes.
Even though it's raining and dreary outside in Greater Boston.
Oh yeah.
Are you happy where you are?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I forgot, where are you located?
We're Boston.
But where?
Newton.
Newton. Okay, right. We said this before. I'm from Lexington. I think we
Yes.
said that.
Yes, because I'll ask you about this, we'll bring it up too, but I love, you went to Windsor?
I did.
Like the Windsor, the all-girls school here?
I did.
And you survived?
I did.
I want more I want to know more about that.
A strong defender of all girls high schools, because
yes,
boys are doofuses. So
I know they can be big. Okay, so if you recall back to when we first connected on this, the whole premise of this podcast conversation platform is kind of like, once you become a mom, people see you as just a mom, or they see you as an employee. They sort of like, your own identity like sort of evaporates. And we also don't really see a lot of these stories or hear enough stories of people are out there doing incredible, impressive, awesome things. And surprise, they're also raising kids and kind of bringing that story forward, as opposed to the, oh my God, to suffer as a working mother. How hard is that?
Yeah.
Not that that's not an real experience, but I think it's bigger than that. So anyway, so we're going through and finding as many rock stars as we can. And thankfully mothers are everywhere and all of them are rock stars, including you. So I'm really excited to have this convo and get to know Lynn. And as you may have heard, we like to start by letting our guests sort of share their version of their story, how we get to Lynn of today. You can probably tell this differently on different days of the week, but how you're feeling today, the story that brings us to who you think of yourself as today, that's kind of the one that we would love to hear. And then we'll pick it apart.
Sure. Sounds good.
Just kidding. But yeah, like we can bring it back to the roots.
Sure.
Because I think, and I have so many questions about the role of comedy in life. And
yes.
Mostly it's a good thing, and all these, and being a woman in comedy and a mother in comedy, like all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So, but bring us back to Lexington, Lynn.
Well, Lexington, Massachusetts was a tough place to grow up in 1775.
Yeah.
I grew up there in the 70s, actually. I should say the 1970s.
1970s.
Yes. And this is all very bittersweet, because like right now, today, in 2025 that we're recording this, because I really loved growing up there. And I can go back and fill in some stuff, but in January, I sold the homestead. It wasn't, but in January I sold the house that I grew up in, and after I lost my mom in 2020 and my dad last year, and I spent 2 years cleaning up the house because my parents didn't, and I was completely unprepared for how deeply traumatic that would be, which is a good problem to have, I hasten to add, for 2 reasons, because not everyone has a house to sell, and not everyone has a house that, or even a town that is the container for special memories. I love my hometown, and I high school there, which we'll talk about, but like and I feel that we had to go back this weekend, actually, because someone else is dying.
I'm
but
sorry,
I know this is a big moment on this, but I really feel like very fun. I'm really normally so much fun. I'm
very chipper, except the world's fucking falling apart. Yeah. I'm sorry.
And I was like, this is really one of the only things that'll get me back there right now, because I mean, it was of course, no question that we would go, but I just did not anticipate how hard it would be. Like, I still have friends all over Boston, so it's I will go back,
Yeah.
and but what a good problem to have.
Yeah.
What a fortunate kind of grief, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because we had fun. We were used to my parents, neither of them is from Boston, and they my dad was an MIT professor, but linguistics, not science, and what for whatever that means. And they didn't know anything about Massachusetts. My dad was from Georgia and my mom was from New York. And my dad looked at the MIT directory and to tell where most of the professors lived. And
Mhm.
he's like, I think Lexington is where I think it's Lexington. And because back then,
It's
now it's like,
actually so true
I know.
too.
And back then it was like, now it's like McMansions and stuff. Not all, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it was like nerdy professors with old beat up Volvos,
Mm.
and which was us, and
Yep.
so,
Yep.
yeah, and so I had, it was a great place to it's only not the country, but,
Right.
woods, tons of woods behind our house, getting tadpoles from the brook and watching them turn into frogs, it was like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was great.
Did you feel attached to like American history when you were there in a
Oh,
unique way?
I totally I was trying to spare you that in my first,
Okay.
onslaught, but, like, I was such a nerd for that.
Yeah,
I was a
cool.
tour guide,
No
which
way.
does
In
relate to
costume?
uh, no, we had to wear
No.
we we had to wear, the tour guides were mostly boys, which,
Mm.
as with comedy and life and Congress and
Yeah.
whatever else,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so the boys were expected to wear the tricon hats and the girls were expected to wear those, like, white bonnets, and I
Mm.
was like, "Can I just wear the tricon?" Like,
Yeah.
and I did. So, but we didn't have, like, a whole getup. It wasn't like Sturbridge Village or Plymouth
Got it.
Plantation. So,
And you didn't participate in the reenactments, or did you?
well, I that is the most wonderful time of the year. So,
It
for
is.
me, it's like the 3 big events of the year combining my adult life and my childhood are,
Mm.
the reenactment, the Coney Island Mermaid Parade, and Halloween. Like, that those are I mean, the reenactment
Mm.
is, for those of you following along at home, in Lexington, the birthplace of American liberty, they
Yes.
reenact which, by the way, everyone thinks it was Concord, it was Lexington, and there's some historical nerdery there, but in terms of where the
Mhm.
first shot was fired at all,
Yep.
it was
Yep.
Lexington. This is a known fact, and the first death of what would then be the start of the actual revolution as opposed to armed resistance. Anyway, that was in Lexington, and they reenact a battle, that happened very early in the morning, around 5 in the morning. They reenact it every
Mhm.
year, and it is so thrilling
Yes.
because everyone
Yeah.
gets there and it's, like, a little foggy and misty and the sun is rising, and then you hear and it's the scout who the Minutemen sent to go see where see they knew the British were coming. Long story, and so you hear and then you hear them shouting and they run and oh my, it's so
Yeah.
good. And it's uh and setting us and also the way they describe it now has gotten a lot more for lack of a less overused word, inclusive. Like they actually,
Mhm.
it's not it's just more thoughtful the way the way they describe all the different people who were there and, all the, sort of the context of
Oh, interesting.
rebellion and
Yeah.
anarchy and stuff is just a little more thoughtful, nuanced history. But, like,
Yeah.
it's still no matter what, like, these
Yeah.
dudes were
Yeah.
farmers,
Yeah.
who, stood there and, watched 2,000 British soldiers march at them. It's stirring. Like, there's no two ways about it.
Yes.
So yeah, we
Yes.
love that stuff.
Yeah. Good. Good,
Huh?
good, good.
We've taken my kids a
So
bunch of times. They love it.
that's awesome. And then that's typically the same weekend as the
Yes.
marathon, right?
Yeah, it's
Boston
the
Yeah.
same day
It's
as
a
the
big
marathon.
weekend.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah,
always
yeah, yeah.
both are always April 19th, right? Yeah, we
Yes.
have a state
I think
holiday
that's
for
right.
that, people. Yeah, extra holiday in
Yes. Yes.
Massachusetts. That's right.
Okay, I derailed us a little bit. Or
Not at all. This is an
American
American
history did.
history podcast,
Maybe
isn't
this
it?
is the root of Lynn. Yeah,
It is.
exactly.
I
This is
mean,
American history.
the
This
tour guides
is,
were
I
very
don't know,
funny.
drunk history?
Yeah, right. It's 10 AM.
Um, okay, so you loved your upbringing in Lexington. You eventually made your way to. Do you have siblings? What's
I
your
do not.
family makeup?
I do not.
Oh my god.
Nope, just me.
Solo Lynn in Lexington.
Solo Lynn in
Wow.
Lexington.
Okay.
Yep,
And then you went to Windsor, all
I did.
girls.
I did. I did. Windsor is literally in the preppy handbook. I don't mean it's like in the
Yeah.
preppy handbook the way we say like on the Mayflower, like literally in the preppy handbook, which was very weird because that's not my family at all.
Mm.
My
Mhm.
well no, I mean in fairness my dad my dad's family did come in the 1720s but down south. So my parents
Okay.
and my mom's parents were immigrants from Poland. So like in my family knows nothing of this sort of New England northern preppy.
Mhm.
But what was interesting about Windsor was that it was like, preppy on the outside and on the inside, but also really actually feminist, cuz
Mhm.
and sometimes overtly, although
Mhm.
it was like escandalo when we had Gloria Steinem speak at our graduation, which we did for a fabulous
Oh.
reason, which I'll tell you in a second if you
Oh,
want. But
wonderful. Yeah.
but like even that was 1986, and even that was a
Mhm.
little bit like Gloria Steinem. But
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
was great about it was that there was so much unspoken feminism. There was no doubt that we weren't prepared to be ladies. We were prepared
Mhm.
to run the world.
Mm.
So, and the great thing was there was nothing we had no roadblocks. Like there was no patriarchy once you
Yeah.
walked in the
Yeah.
door, there were no doofus
Interesting.
boys, there were no there just was not it was like it was like the Wonder Woman planet,
Mhm.
just inside the doors where we didn't have to worry. We were like, "What? We're going to run the world.
Yeah.
Who's who said anything to the contrary?" So,
Yeah.
that was great. And then actually going to college when the doofus boys showed up. I mean, we liked
Mhm.
boys. We had boyfriends and stuff. We went to dances, and not everyone is straight, of course, but whatever,
Mhm.
boys. And when I went to college, it was much more. I was challenged freshman year because I was all of a
Yeah.
sudden intimidated by, like, honestly, whether they were smart or mediocre. They talked a lot in class, and I was not used to not, not either me or other people, we were not used to sort of being someone else dominating the classroom, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was definitely an adjustment and kind of like, "Oh, this is the real world. Okay, 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 I see now."
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And, what did you make of that? Were you how did
Well,
you bring them in?
thank God for 2 things. First of all, thank God my mom was a big feminist, and so she was like,
Mhm.
"Shut up, read Carol Gilligan." Who was this feminist of the time who just talked about in a very thoughtful way. I'm sure it's dated now in many ways, but just in a very thoughtful way about quote unquote the differences between men and women, whether it's nature or nurture, but how we
Yeah.
communicate and how we act in groups and blah blah blah. And again, I'm sure that there's a lot of body of work that has been built onto it. But at the
Yeah.
time, my mom was just like, look, people communicate in different ways. Your way of being is not worse or better. It's just different, and you haven't had to deal with it other than like
Mhm.
in the school play and the school newspaper, like
Yeah.
incidentally, not in not every single waking, not your like during the day saying you don't have to negotiate, and you haven't had to like live in a co-ed world.
Yeah.
I wasn't I didn't
Totally.
go to boarding school, but still, it's like from 9 to 4 every day. You didn't have to deal with that. So
Yeah.
she really, like, sat me down and, like, metaphorically sat me down, put her hands on my shoulders and said, "Cut it out. You are just as everyone is just as smart as everyone else, and everyone deserves the floor just as much as everyone else. They just have a different
Mm.
style." You
Yeah.
know? So and the other thing was I typically and maybe it was my parents' influence, like, my parents had excellent friends
Mhm.
and then nurtured their friendships, and they were fun, and I think I
Mm.
just kind of absorbed how to make friends who the right friends is the wrong way to put it, but, well, okay, I'll brag/drop slash drop some advice here, which
Yeah,
is,
do.
I happened to be on a Zoom with Gina Davis the other day, as one does, and,
Cool.
because I've
Love
heard of her.
Gina.
Yeah, she runs this really.
GD?
What's that?
GD?
GD. And because she runs a really interesting research organization that does research
Yeah.
into portrayals of gender in pop culture.
Yes.
And I was on a meeting with her, and the context doesn't matter, but she said, be in spaces, seek out people who make you feel like you.
Mm.
And I was like, that is some gold right there. And so for whatever reason, I was able to do that. And so whether they were dudes or girls or both or neither, whatever, I was just good at seeking out those people. And so, and many of them
Yeah.
were dudes when I was in college. So like I figured it out by being good. I had dude friends in high school. I mean, sure, I did the play, did the newspaper, I knew them. But I sought out people, not on purpose, but I sort of intuitively knew how to seek out people who made me feel like me.
Yeah.
So I basically I normalized dudes after after that helped me normalize dudes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're a wonderful humanities major at Yale. I also was a humanities major at Harvard, and it's a dying breed, but I think we matter. I don't know. When and how was comedy? Were you funny yet? Did you care about
Yeah,
being funny? When did this happen?
yeah, and that was the other thing. I sought out people who cracked me up, or
Yeah.
again seeking out. I didn't make a list. I didn't make a map. I didn't make a plan. Those were where I gravitated, and that was my
Yeah.
brand sort of in high school also.
Yeah.
And then honestly, that was my brand in elementary school. Like not like lampshade on my head, wacky practical joker, but that was just my brand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think especially I leaned into it even more in high school because it wasn't cliquey in a mean way, but, like, I was not a tall blonde lacrosse player, and that was, like, the dominant culture. Again,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't bad. It's just I just it wasn't me. And
Yeah.
so, obviously, I was more of a theater nerd. It will shocker. Um, and, then even then, I leaned I gravitated more toward this, the funny sidekick. It just was felt
Mm-hmm.
natural to me. So I cultivated it there in high school. It's just again, that's what felt natural to me. And then,
Yeah.
same in college. I was in an a cappella singing group, big deal, at Yale,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm not a
The
great singer.
Poofs, the Whiff and Poofs. Who are
No,
we
those
singing with?
those were
Those
all
are dudes,
those were
right?
all dudes when I was there. Now they're co-ed or all gen
Girls don't whiff.
girls.
We hit all the time.
Well, there was a group called Women Rhythm, which was like the senior
Mm.
women's group when I was a senior, and I loved my singing group so much that I didn't even audition. I was just like, I just want to stay with my group.
Good for you.
But I wasn't a great. I was good enough to get into the group, but I wasn't a great singer.
Mhm.
Like memorable or outstanding in any way. And I
Yeah.
gravitated more toward writing the bits that we did in between the songs.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
So, it's just like I didn't have like a comedy game plan. It's
Yeah.
just always in any situation, it was where the tractor beam pulled me.
Yeah, totally. I get that. And then how did that tractor beam pull you after college?
I was also, and this is not really a different track. I was also a writer this whole time. That was just
Yeah.
also where I was pulled, and I should say even going back to like childhood. I mean, the constant soundtrack in our house was um well, my parents listening to either opera or this guy that only some people remember, Robert J. Lertzema, who was on on WGBH, who
Oh, I'm sure it was on because my parents only played classical
yep.
music.
And there was one
And
DJ who
yeah,
sounded like Darth Vader.
funny.
And
Okay.
I don't think they called it DJ for whatever. Anyway, um it was that or Carol Burnett, The Muppets, Laugh-In, MASH, The Jeffersons, all the variety shows, so
Yeah,
like it was just in my, again
that's great.
through my cells. But anyway, then after college I gravitated toward I had done a lot of journalism type stuff, and after college I
Mhm.
just basically focused on journalism and also started doing stand up. So those seemed obvious to me. I didn't want
So
to.
you hadn't done stand up in college?
No, but the stuff that we did with my singing group was similar, but not the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Wow, cool.
and I mean, I sometimes I just told jokes on, which I guess was stand up, but it was more like sketches. But
Mhm.
whatever. Um, And that's where I gravitated, and then I really, it kind of all started braiding I kind of started braiding a few strands together. One was journalism and writing and,
Mhm.
books, and one was stand-up, and one was social justice,
Mm.
and which also I got, especially from my mom, just from growing up, and it turns out that if you like comedy and you like social justice, sometimes you can do them at the same time, which is a
Yeah.
super fun job. So,
Yeah, I'm
that's
impressed,
what I
yeah.
started trying to that's the path that I started trying to, um, more deliberately carve out.
Yeah. And how does maybe within the work that you're doing in that space, the one thing I often think about is like, and it's one of the input sort of behind starting this too was that just using the category of mothers and motherhood for the moment. They're bigger in different things too. But um I was noticing that we were all just using comedy to like as a way to kind of portray motherhood, but by kind of making it seem funny and silly. Um and but it that obviously like isn't the full story. Like there's something deeper there. I love comedy. I think it's, you know, the purest thing in the world. It's the only thing that matters. I love everyone getting in a room and like laughing at the same thing, even if we like can't agree on anything else. Um, but I wonder, how did you figure out the balance between like making it funny, but also getting people to think and make a different, not just laugh at the joke, but also get like bought into the bigger picture as to why this matters. It's
Yeah.
not just something to laugh at, it's something to get involved with.
Well, that's a good question. I As a practical matter, when I did stand up, it wasn't necessarily quote unquote political.
Mm-hmm.
I did, but it was or not overtly,
Yeah.
but it was feminist.
Mm-hmm.
But I made it personal. And this is not
Mm-hmm.
just me being having a brilliant idea. That's actually the best comedy, I think,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is jokes that only you can tell, but that
Yeah.
tap into just because they're so if they're authentic, they're also kind of gonna automatically tap into something primal and relatable.
Yeah.
So, for example, I remember when I was single, I had forgotten about these jokes, but my my older kid, I put them to work this past summer
Mm-hmm.
digitizing my videotapes, and a
Oh,
lot of them were
nice.
my stand-up sets, and I would kind of wander past the living room and stop and be like,
Oh my
"Well, that was
god.
a good bit," and, there I won't do the bit, but I had a whole lot of stuff about, complaining about being single, but not about being single, like, not about, like, wanting of course, wanting to meet someone, but about how people treat single women. Which is
Mm.
that, and this isn't the joke, it was just the idea behind the joke was that, like, if you're single, they think w if you want to get married, they think you're desperate, and if you don't get wanna get married, they think something's wrong with you. So, it's
Mm.
like, where does that leave us, patriarchy, So and
Mhm.
so that was the premise of a lot of my jokes was the how the culture looks at single women, but I told it just about out of how I feel or things
Mhm.
that people say to me, um, and, things like that.
Yeah.
So that is political in that sense,
Mhm.
but it's not framed that way. Um,
Yeah.
so, but then I didn't but the distinction that I wanna make is that I didn't when you talk about combining comedy and social justice or comedy and change or comedy and culture change, which is
Yeah.
kinda where I landed, which sounds nerdy, but is a real thing.
Mhm.
You, it's not necessarily it doesn't only mean that you are a stand-up who talks about issues.
Mhm.
It might mean that I worked for, or created on my own a bunch of, either worked for companies that did this or created on my own a bunch of campaigns, for example, um, that used comedy or humor to introduce or communicate about an issue that is not funny.
Yeah.
Or not inherently funny. So,
Mhm.
I helped create animations that were shown at NASCAR races that in a funny kind of edgy way, encourage dudes to challenge violence against women,
Mhm.
But it's a NASCAR race and it was an animation, it was actually a funny animation,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's not only like what jokes you tell, but how it's comedy is also the delivery system
Yep.
for messages that then actually get delivered
Yeah.
because they're packaged in comedy.
Yeah.
Um, so it was both.
Yeah.
Um, and also, I think that even, it wasn't that it was not at all interesting that I was a woman doing comedy back then, even though they made it seem like it was. Like, they would
Mhm.
introduce us like, "Now we got a lady coming to the stage," and I'd be like, "Bro, can you just okay." Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but at the same time, it was a little more unusual than it was not unusual to have a show made entirely of white dudes.
Mhm.
So if you're a woman, or increasingly now, if you are, any kind of other, right?
Mhm.
If you're not white, if you're not straight, if you're not a dude, if you're whatever it is,
Mhm.
person of color from another country, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you don't have to talk about issues or identities or whatever to make a difference, because you make a difference when you just show up.
Mm.
You could just
Yeah.
talk about, like, your annoying parents or your annoying siblings or your annoying workplace, whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
But if you're a person but you, by definition, and I'm talking just about stand up here, but generally, I'm
Yeah.
talking about all kinds of comedy. If you're on that stage for 5, 8, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, shit, the rules are people have to listen to you.
Mhm.
Only you.
Mhm.
And typically, you might have people in the room who have never actually sat and listened to, like, a trans dude from Cameroon for half an hour, or a
Mhm.
woman at all. You know? So, that's partly why I think, comedy just itself, and that's, it sounds like that's kinda why you are
Yeah.
attracted to comedy too. Like, it doesn't even necessarily matter what you're talking about. But that's why it matters, because comedy is such a cultural force. That's why it matters
Yeah.
that's why it matters who makes it,
Yes. So
regardless.
tell me about that, because I love your background. You actually, going back to Gina, you, who is all about if you can see it, you can be
Yes,
it, and
exactly.
like getting more women in the. It started, I think, as women, and now it's more any sort of other, as you're
Yes.
saying. Um, but you built a career. You didn't like attach yourself to one company and that was it for 30 years. Like, you
Right.
built brick by brick your career. You built the places that you now work at. And
Some,
how
not
does
all.
that happen? Not all. That's true, true, true. True. There are exceptions, but I think there wasn't a linear, at least from the outside. I don't think there ever could be in this area of work.
Mhm,
It was not a linear thing. So
mhm.
how did you build your way through that? And I love the metaphor of braiding. I think that's such a
Yeah.
nice one of like, how did we braid these things together? But yeah, how did it go?
Um, Let me think. That's a great question. I think sometimes it was out of necessity or
Mhm.
impatience or frustration, to be totally frank. It was
Mhm.
not necessarily with a blueprint. Uh
Yeah.
so for example, uh there came a time there were the glory days of magazine journalism and of
Yeah.
publishing, where
Yes.
I published several books, and and I was not the only one. Like, all my writer friends, we were like, "What book are
Yeah.
you working on now? And how many like, we had a great time. And
Yeah.
we were paid enough, and it wasn't a slog. Also, because we had been doing it for a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
we were experienced, and it was paying off.
Yep.
And we had a blast, and felt that we were doing important things, and our words got seen and landed, and we
Mhm.
featured people you have to know about, and it was great. And then when the bottom started falling out of lots of things,
Yeah.
I had bottoms fall out a few times. So I the one bottom that fell out was the .com bottom.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention this, but my creative partner and I had created a superhero named Breakup Girl, who helps still does people with romantic emergencies, and that also was like
Mhm.
a political, quote unquote, thing, because she helped everyone, and that was a time
Yeah.
when, like, we then there were words that weren't even in our vernacular,
Mhm.
and everyone wrote, like, for the advice column that we had, which was huge.
Mhm.
it wasn't just women, and partly because there was this idea back then that, like, women talk about relationships and men talk about everything else, and also
Mm.
all relationships are straight and binary, but any case,
Yeah.
uh, but we didn't do that, like, we had because and
Yeah.
we didn't try, that was who our audience was so diverse, and
Yeah.
we realized, "Oh my gosh, I think what we're actually trying to do here is change the way people talk about relationships."
Mm.
You know,
Yep.
through a comic superhero. Anyway,
Yep.
so we sold that to Oxygen, in the late '90s, and
Incredible.
then Oxygen, or what it had been, Oxygen 1.0, went kablooey, and
Mhm.
so that bottom fell out, and I went back to journalism, and then after a while, also, journalism became not like, practically untenable. It was when I was a young, early mother, and,
Mhm.
it was not and economically, the magazine business was changing.
Yeah.
Those of us who had, very comfortable and wonderful and rewarding contracts lost our contracts, so we had to hustle in ways that we had to hustle when we were starting. And then
Yeah.
I couldn't and then it was like when blogs were going crazy, and also everyone had lost their on-staff journalism jobs, and everyone was like, "I'm a blogger,"
For
and
free.
started taking all of our jobs because
Yeah.
even though
Yeah.
we were more experienced, I don't mean jobs, but assignments, because even though we were more experienced, um, if someone had to go, like, report something out at 6:15, which was right when our kid's nanny left or whatever, they're gonna get
Yeah.
that I'm not gonna get that story, you know?
Yeah.
So it just
Yep.
became untenable, and I went to work for Breakthrough, which was I mentioned this sideways, but, it's shifted its focus now, but at the time, was a global human rights organization that used, among other things, comedy and pop
Mhm.
culture to make human rights issues real and relevant and actionable. So
Mm.
that's where we did the animation, that I was mentioning. So,
Mhm.
um but it was, those were seismic shifts, but they honestly came not because I was following a North Star, but because I had to do something else.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
reacting.
were
Yeah,
forced
and good
pivots.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me a little bit. I love kind of hearing how people's careers align or don't with, or what happens when kids come into the picture and how we evolve our careers or what we want to be doing looks different and all that stuff. You mentioned that this was early days with your first kid when you were like this. It sounded like it wasn't just that the scheduling was tough when you have a kid, you can't be there for the 6:15 thing, but also just the economics of that industry
Yep.
maybe made it no longer make sense either.
Yeah, because then you also life
Yeah.
just got a whole lot more expensive. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So how did that, and you have 2 kids.
Yes.
So how did this all come together over time?
We Well, I'll tell you what, this is just one detail, it's not the whole picture, but we one thing that was a very relevant detail is that, I live in Brooklyn, New York, and, I used to joke, since before all you people did, but that's a terrible joke. It's a terrible joke because, first of all, Brooklyn is enormous. I'm talking specifically about Park Slope, which everyone
Mhm.
thinks that they're the OG Park Slopers. Everyone, every
Oh,
generation,
funny.
which is actually a thing. I mean, that's actually a thing that social science documents, that, like, people think they're the real
Mm,
ones. Everyone. So,
yes.
okay. I actually don't think that. We live in the house that my husband grew up in. So he's the real,
Oh, wow.
but he's not the real, because his parents bought it, 20 years before, or in, 1971, which, again,
Yeah.
but they're not the real Park Slopers either. But anyway,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
point is that, I sidetracked myself, but the point is that when my kids were little, his parents lived downstairs,
Mm,
and,
that's the hack.
they
Generally.
that's the
Yeah.
hack, and,
Yeah.
you know, it was actually not it still is not uncommon in this neighborhood. People think that we're all, hedge fund robots, but, I don't know any, actually. And on our
Yeah.
block, there are several generational families on our block, all of whose parents, are like, to go back to our earlier conversation, not from the Mayflower, like, people
Yeah.
sort of, back then when they moved in, Park Slope was not fancy.
Yeah.
And so, of course, everyone stayed,
Yeah.
and it's just what you did. And so the kids had um, the kids had a regular schedule. It wasn't they didn't My in-laws didn't take care of them full time, but my kids had
Yeah.
a regular schedule with them. And also, like, sure, if they were usually home. So, like, if there was sort of some sort of work thing I needed to attend to or whatever, depending on how old the kids were, I could be like, can you just watch them for a second? Or just like
Yeah.
upstairs, they're fine, or whatever.
Yeah.
So honestly, wow. That's not the whole picture, but that was a big anchor.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and then I wanted to talk about women in comedy, and you were saying nicely that it wasn't totally uncommon, but it also wasn't the norm to have back-to-back women, on a comedy show. But, what's it like? I know even in just there's on stage comedy, then there's the writers behind the comedy, and writers' rooms being very like masculine dominated for a long time, and probably still. There's so many different parts of it. Maybe you could share some perspective or even learnings from being a woman in those spaces, and then also how that shifted being a mother, which in some ways I don't know if that's worse or better. But like
We have more material.
what was that like? Yeah.
You definitely have more material. Well, let's work backwards. Let me just say that let me stipulate that today in the comedy world, business, whatever you want to call it, two things we need to hold two truths at the same time, two conflicting truths at the same time. One is that things are amazingly, fantastically better than they were in the 90s when I did comedy. The other is that everything is terrible. So
Yes.
no,
Isn't that genius? What is the quote? Genius is holding two conflicting ideas in your head at the same time and being able to proceed. Anyway.
Exactly. And
Yes.
I do overstate. Everything is not terrible, but like I am sort of shocked, not shocked, that you still have lineups that are only one woman. You still actually, I'll call it out. Nick's Comedy Club in Boston recently had, and no shade to the people on the show, but recently had like I'm just gonna say it was a Chicks at Nick's night, which come on, Nick's. Like, come on. Aren't we past I don't really care chicks. I'm not responding to the word chick.
Right.
I'm just saying like you're telling me that women are the other comics.
Yeah.
You're telling me that men are comics and women are the other comics. That's what you're telling me. And the ad for it was the faces of the actual comics poorly photoshopped onto the bodies of naked Barbies.
Oh gosh.
In 2025. And the thing is like, I'm too tired to be like, let me explain to you why this is sexist. Okay.
Yeah.
We all know objectification.
Yeah.
We all know. But like, do you not want women as customers? Do you not want women to perform at your club? And again, like I have no opinion on whether the individual comics thought it was funny or not. That's fine. They can do whatever they want. It's fine. And Nick's can do whatever it wants. But, and Nick's has been in business for many years. Like this, we've all worked there. Go Nick. But like, I don't understand how that's a business decision that anyone can make in this day and age. That no one was like, do you think that some people might not want to come to the show if that's how you advertise it? Or do you think that we might miss out on some amazing rising talent because they'll take one look at this and not want to work at our club?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's the actual impact of it. I can't prove it. I don't know who didn't do something because of that ad. But I'm like, really? It's are we still thinking of women as not as the auxiliary comedy team?
I know. I think about this a little bit. This is not the same exactly, but this comes up a lot. My background, I'm an athlete, in many ways, but played reasonably high levels. And I notice all the time, and this is not a new comment, but you have the soccer league, and then you have the women's soccer league.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Yep. And it's so normalized. Or you have the NBA, and you have the WNBA, and so like basketball is men. Yep. The other thing is women's, and there is my glass half full is like you have to call out the other thing to give it special attention for a while. Like this is its launching pad, and then you integrate, I guess. Yeah. But this is a tricky. It sounds simple to do the right thing, but I think it just takes a long time to be able to do the right thing and for it to work a little bit. I don't know. Yep. Anyways, fuck Nick's. Just kidding. Yeah. It also sounds very, we love Nick's.
It could have been anyone.
It sounds very Boston also. where it's like, can we be a little more sophisticated and a little more nuanced?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but anyways, okay,
So
so
yeah,
women in comedy is still a little bit of the othering, even it's better.
but
It's not,
it's so much better. I mean,
yeah.
first of all, it's very normal now for uh Samantha Bee show started this, but it's very normal. It's not universal, but it's not even a big deal anymore. Sort of to your point, to
Yeah.
have blind hiring so that
Mm-hmm.
you don't know whether or not you're hiring your friend's
Mm-hmm.
kid from the Lampoon. Or sorry,
Right.
your friend's brother from the
Yeah.
Lampoon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and uh, it's very common to. It's just yeah. We have normalized diverse writers' rooms. We just have.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's partly because, and again, it's it still takes 10 years to be an overnight success. It takes really hard work. Blah blah blah. All that stuff for everyone. Even the straight white dudes have to work hard. To be clear.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many more platforms on which people can work, get discovered, hone their craft,
Yeah.
and there's so many more accessible platforms that there is a measurable decrease in gatekeeping
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have a manager. This is not easy, but make yourself establish your brand on TikTok, Instagram, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You may be able to get hired and then get a manager.
Yeah.
It used to be there were only certain paths and they had gates. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I don't mean to make it sound easy, but it
Yeah.
is mathematically um more possible
Yeah.
to find a place to build your brand and get eyeballs, which
Mm-hmm.
often, not always, can lead to gigs.
Yeah.
And it's just mathematically more possible. There are mathematically more friendly open mics, which are
Mm-hmm.
where if you want to hone your live craft, that's the only place to do it. And they
Mm-hmm.
used to all suck. Mathematically
Mm-hmm.
more friendly open mics, mathematically more technology platforms, and also uh people who make comedy, the decision makers, are more aware of who's watching and what they demand. And there
Mm-hmm.
is a demand among all people, not just people who want to see people who look like them, which yes,
Mm-hmm.
but people who want to see people who don't look like them.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, we know this,
Yep.
that people want diverse and inclusive pop culture fair.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we need diverse people to make that. And so that
Yeah.
obviously uh trickles down to
Yeah.
getting hired.
Right. And that's key to Gold. If you want to share what
Yes, great
the
segue,
premise
Sarah.
of Gold. Yes. Tell me about Gold. Better than silver.
So good. Um, so Gold is my company. It's Gold Comedy. We are the comedy school and professional network and content studio
Mm-hmm.
where women and non-binary and other creators and others, as we like to say,
Yeah. Yeah.
are able to build their comedy careers and creative side hustles, become part of a powerful network and community, and make funny stuff that actually gets
Mm-hmm.
seen and on all kinds of stages and screens. And as I've just said, there
Yeah.
are more and more kinds of stages and screens today. So
Right.
we have, so that also makes it easier for us to be that conduit. For example, we have a web series that our members made called Late Bloomers that's now streaming on
Mm.
Fox Soul, which is um, what's called a fast channel that's part of Fox. And so fast
Mm.
channels, for example, is free. It's like Tubi, free ad supported television. So it's like streaming, but cable. So just the
Okay.
fact that we have more platforms for distribution that
Yeah.
mean that our members and everyone else who are, emerging, aspiring, established also have more places to go than just
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote Hollywood. Hollywood's still, great, no shade, but it's just it's their fewer opportunities. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
anyway, so we have our web series streaming on there. We have our members creating solo shows that go out on tour, get into festivals. We just try, as I said, comedy is hard for everyone.
Yeah.
We try to make it easier for the people for whom it's the hardest,
Mm-hmm.
which matters because they're human beings. and comedy is a
Yeah.
job, and it also matters because who makes comedy matters.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. And it means in this capacity, but then in others before that, you were very much exposed to other comedians, like the community of comedians. I was
Yeah.
curious what you saw among those related to mothers and
Yeah.
comedians becoming moms. And I feel like there's all, as you said about Park Slope, everyone thinks maybe their generation did it first. But I feel like there's this um I don't know, blow up of mother funny content with Ali
Kelly
Wong
Wand. Yeah.
has her amazing stand-ups at Rosebud Baker, who I didn't know about
Baker.
at all, is like
Yep.
really funny, did some good stuff.
Yep.
There, Rose Byrne, however you say her name, Bryn Byrne, has doing everything she does now is some sort of like dark comedy related to motherhood. But I feel like there's a lot. But I'm curious, like, what do you see? I don't know. Aren't you like buddies with Rachel Dratch or all these people that are like, they were like, what are we?
Yeah.
Should we have kids? Can we have kids and do this?
Absolutely
like, how do we do it?
I honestly, well, so my kind of role models / peers in that area are, well, certainly Rachel, as I said, a fellow Lexingtonian.
Yeah.
So Rachel, my narrow view on this is with stand up, which isn't Rachel's, let's just say Rachel's schedule. Literally, I'm talking about schedule. So Rachel has worked harder than any of us, but didn't have the same schedule of just being out at night by definition, right?
Right.
So and I'm not saying she had it easy. I'm just making a distinction for practical matter.
Oh, yeah.
But
we know she's lazy.
But thank you. Thanks so much. We have a house full of
all sorts of things
house
happening
full of
right
all
now.
sorts of things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Takes a village. This is what's happening. It's happening now. Thank you for the help. Yes.
Yeah. Meanwhile, my son has off of school and I haven't seen him. So yeah, because it's
he's
Diwali.
watching your stand up.
So anyway, but my what I literally have seen with my own eyes in terms of scheduling used to blow my mind, because I specifically remember Lori Kilmartin, who I love, very successful, wonderful, awesome stand-up, who was a few years ahead of me just in experience. And I specifically remember her like running into whatever club we were in to do a set and then run back because someone was sitting in the car with her kid, like her infant, in the car seat sleeping. And then I specifically remember Ophira Eisenberg, who I also came up with, is a good friend of mine, who now like sunrise, sunset, my kids babysit her kid. But
wow.
But I can't believe this. But she makes jokes. Her joke is that, like, one joke she does on stage is like, so I have a kid, blah blah blah. He's out in the car. He's like some joke when he was a toddler. He's in the car. I'll be right back. And I was like, that's what Lori Kilmartin did. He was supervised. So the answer is a lot of babysitters, because Ophira also tours a lot. But if you think about it, so many people do work nights. So many people, whether it's shift work or working late at your fancy white collar, what do you call it? White shirt. What do you call it for law firms? White, whatever.
White collar.
Fancy, but it's not white collar. Whatever. Whatever. Fancy law firm. Like, people work nights. So my question, and I don't know the answer, this would be a question for Ophira and Lori and so many people like them, is, were they judged more? Because comedy, like, if they're a fancy lawyer, like, I think there's a different, well, people will judge women for being fancy lawyers too, of course. Well, they'll judge us for anything. But comedy is not always seen as a job or as an important job. People will come up to you and be like, I loved your skit. And you'll be like, it's not a skit,
Right.
So
Yes.
I think a question, and I'm sure I can predict the answer, is, especially when your kid was little, how did people respond? How did mean people respond to your being out all the time at night just to do comedy?
Yeah.
For those of you not following along. I made it.
Now balloons,
everybody. There you go. I'm a sorcerer.
You are.
It's not a very helpful skill, magic skill to have. But in any case, so I how you do it is how you do any job. It's cobble it together and you make it work. But I really wonder what if people thought of it differently, if you're out late doing comedy versus out late, I don't know, toiling at your nonprofit that does obvious,
Yeah.
that builds homes for uh the unhoused, or you know what I mean? Like I think there's
Yeah.
all different kinds of judgment for all different kinds of women, and
For sure.
query whether comedy got it had a special set of comments.
Yeah.
And yeah. But then,
Yeah. I
not every, or like, my God, what if you work on SNL or a weekly show? Like, it's consuming.
The cadence is crazy. Yeah. The other piece, we've talked to a lot of, I mean, creatives sit in a lot of categories, but we've talked to a variety of authors who have raised this question that sure, there's the judgment from others. There's also some way that once you have kids, they have said that it's sort of, some have said, and these are successful writers now who are like, I couldn't even look at the babysitter bill because I was like, does this justify
Yeah.
does my work justify being away from the kids or paying for a sitter? And I think in any of these careers, unless you are lucky / gifted / whatever, and just money fell on you in a way,
There's some falling
I
on me
think
right
for
now. It's
most
crazy.
people, for most people, there's a long time of like, is this going to work? Is this the thing? And then when you have kids, whether you're mother or father or anything in between, I would think there's also this like, is this worth it? Like, do I love this enough? Is this important to me
Yeah.
enough to me? Is this the thing? And also, am I doing it well enough? Others have said, like, if I'm going to do this, I need to like win a Pulitzer.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not even worth doing it. How do you think about that within comedy? Were those thoughts for you? Or you seem
Yeah.
very, I don't know,
Yeah,
had a strong sense of self along without giving that up when you had kids?
I definitely thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
I Oh, two things. One thing I wanted to say before is that as with other jobs, I also think that women who raise kids while doing comedy careers probably get asked about it a lot more than men who have kids
Of
and do comedy.
course.
So I'm just gonna
Of
there's
course.
that.
Yes.
That's just table
Yes.
stakes right then. But anyway, like, how do you
Yes.
do it? Like, ask
Yes.
yeah,
I think I'm more curious, like, why? I think not to be like, why would you? More just being like, I
no,
think
I
when
know.
you have kids, it's like everything's a little heightened
Yeah.
because there's
No, I'm thinking
not as
about
much time.
totally. I'm thinking
Yeah,
about the previous question where, like,
yeah,
people probably had a lot more thoughts about, like, Ophira and Lori doing comedy with kids than they did of, about any other given dude having kids and doing
totally.
comedy. It would
Oh
never occur to
yeah,
them to wonder, right? So anyway,
of
previous
course. Yeah,
question. Current
yeah.
question. My kids were too young to I'm mixing up what happened when, but, like,
Mm-hmm.
they were either too young or not around yet to kind of, when I was kind of a very established, successful journalist,
Yeah.
and they just sort of didn't have I forget, they just didn't mean anything to them, too young,
Yeah.
whatever. And they've more seen me, um, in sort of a patchwork, they've
Mm-hmm.
much more remember seeing me, uh, trying to get a company off the ground, it's still
Mm-hmm.
a slog, like, we are not, we're scrappy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm proud and happy, but we're scrappy.
Yeah.
Um, they see me juggling that with I have other sort of communications related other gigs sometimes. I do consulting and that kind of thing. And so,
Yeah.
um, and like when they were little, they would be like, "My mom is a comedian," and I'd be like, "I'm literally not anymore. Like, I'm not." But they didn't, because I don't really do much actual comedy,
Yeah.
or my mom is a comedy teacher, which I also don't do much myself
Mm.
anymore. So like, my ego got involved, even though my kids were
Yeah.
little. And there's nothing wrong with doing comedy or being a comedy teacher, to be clear. But
Yep.
I kind of wanted to sit them down and be like, "Mommy founded a comedy school. Mommy founded the first and only combination comedy school." Like, and of course they're 5. Like, they don't care.
Right. Yeah.
But my ego
No, what it
definitely got
matters to you.
involved.
Yeah.
And like, I definitely would even, this is okay, I'll be really candid. Like,
Yeah.
one of the fun parts of not just my job now, but like my whole trajectory, has been, like, whether being a journalist or whatever, like, I've interacted with a lot of really cool, famous people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
some of them once, some of them I
Mm-hmm.
happen to know because we came up together and they're successful comics,
Yeah.
whatever, everyone in between. Or I, talked to them one time for one quote for some article that is doesn't even exist online anymore or ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I used to, like I would say that to impress my kids, like, no, I
Mm,
wouldn't be like, never. I would never just say it out of the blue. But
sure.
if they said, like, I can't even come up with an example that I can't remember. Um,
Yeah,
but well, I mean, I guess Rachel Dratch is an example,
sure.
um, that they know who she is, of
Yeah.
course, and they'd be like, "Aren't you friends with her or something, mom?" And I'd be like, "Well, not really,
Yeah.
but our moms were friends and we went to the same synagogue." They'd be like, "That's amazing," and I'd be
Yes.
like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
again, I would never, like, actually bring it up, but that was a bad example, but there are other people not bad, nothing's wrong with Rachel Dratch, but, like, where I would actually kind of lean into the parts of it that were actually not that are fun but not important,
Yeah.
um, so that they would have something to grab onto.
Yeah.
Oh, in fact, when my my older kid is now 19 almost 19, said, "What does" someone said, "What does your mom do?" And they said, sh oh, she's a my kid said that she's a writer, and it was
Mhm.
me or someone else said, "What does she write?" And my kid said, "Lists."
Oh god.
Not wrong,
Yeah.
not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, you wouldn't say that about dad, probably. Yeah, this comes up just to make you feel. I don't even think you feel bad, but I think this is a question and this is a concept that comes up a lot, especially for mothers that are pursuing careers that don't like you can't just hang your hat on like a company name or something that's established. Even though if you're working for that big X company and you're doing something like fairly menial, somehow the world just says this is legitimate.
Right,
And
or
more
like
importantly,
it
our kids are like, sure, this is fine.
right.
I think a lot of people that are now have moved into places or started in those places of building their own thing. As the kids get older, it's interesting that you had that quote established thing when they before they knew what it meant. This is a question of like, what do we tell the kids?
Yeah.
My daughter the other day was like, when are you gonna make more money again? And I was like, why does this? And she's 9. I was
Yeah.
like, why does this and of course I brought all sorts of baggage to the
Of
conversation, being
course.
like
Like, have you been
and she was
balancing
like,
the
I was just
checkbook?
curious. Like I wanted to
Yeah.
so yeah. No, I totally I think that is a real thing.
Yeah, or I
And
think when they could read, like, I was always well, it was helpful when they could read because it was like they understood what it not really, but they understood if they saw my name, like, on a book, they would understand that, or in a magazine, they would understand that when I
yeah.
wrote that thing, they would understand that. But, like, okay, so but for contrast, my husband is a rabbi, and he's not now, but,
Yes, I saw this.
yeah, and he when they were little, when all their entire childhood, he was, the rabbi at a synagogue. So they, not in the neighborhood, but they still we went all the time, and they 100%, I mean, they didn't really understand it, but it was very clear to them what daddy did because they literally saw him do it.
Right.
Whereas for me, they just saw me typing.
Yep. Yep. No, I totally get it. And it is, I mean, I think in some ways it's irrelevant, but I think in this weird way where it feels more, I don't know what the words, why it feels so vulnerable to be trying something different in front of our kids. And what I can imagine, like if my husband was taking an alternative path for a little while, how if he would give a shit about what what they thought.
Right.
Whereas to me, I'm like, I don't know. I want them to respect my career
Yeah,
because
totally.
generations have fought for me to have access to whatever form of career I ever could possibly want. And I don't want them to think I'm just pissing it away by like laying here, lounging and eating bonbons in the corner.
Totally.
um,
Totally.
but all right, I know we've blown through some time, but I wanted to wrap up. We asked these 3 sort of closing questions related to motherhood and kind of reflecting on some specific moments of it. But if you could harken back to your new mom self,
Yeah.
is there anything that you would say to that person?
Uh, one is, moisturize. They don't tell you this, but you wash your hands so much that
Yeah.
you, like and this is okay, you can take this one home. That is the best gift I learned through that experience, the best gift for a new mom, actually both
Hmm.
parents, is some great lotion because you wash your hands so much that
That
it
is
just
true.
become
Yes.
I'm gonna stand by that answer because
Yeah.
what it means metaphorically also is, you really can put yourself first, and it's not just, like, put on your oxygen mask first, like, the baby will
Yeah.
be fine, the baby will just lie there. Like,
Yep.
you know, if you're lucky, you know, most of the time. And I don't mean to sound gross. I just mean that like we moved. My son is almost 17. We moved to this apartment when he was 4 weeks old.
Mhm.
Which sounds crazy, except like they just lie there at that point. Like, of course, it's
Yeah.
lots of work. I get it. I know. You know,
Totally.
but,
No,
like,
I know. Yeah.
and you can like travel when they're just a football. Like, trust me on this.
Mhm.
We took my son to Dollywood. You know, we took when he was 5 months old. We took my older one to Barcelona when they were like 5 months old. I can't remember, but like, do it now. Like, you think you
Yes.
can't? You think it's outlandish? It's not. You'll just
I
have a
totally
different set of
agree.
problems later when they're older.
Yes. Yes, totally, totally. Either travel when they're 6 months or under, or wait until they can watch screens for hours,
There you
and anything in between is like not worth it. And to that point of things that make things easier, is there anything along this journey of motherhood thus far that a theme of things that might have made it easier? Not that it's supposed to be easy.
There's a ton. There's a ton, but one that pops into my head, speaking of, like, superpowers, when I created
Yeah.
balloons out of nothing on,
Yeah,
just by
that
moving
was
my hands a
impressive.
minute
No
ago.
one's done that before.
Yeah, I can't do it again. Um, what is, I would love to have had maybe I still would want this sixth sense or seventh or eighth, whichever one it would be, to know which hill to die on.
Mm.
Um, because there are a few that I looking back, I should have died on, and there were a
Mhm.
lot that I absolutely did not need to die on, and I'm not a big hill dyer, like, I'm much chiller,
Yeah.
maybe on purpose, much chiller than my
Yeah.
mother was, but, no, all due respect to my amazing mom, but, like, I kinda wish I died on the hill of making them continue piano. Both kids, like,
Mhm.
put their feet down and did not wanna continue piano. I wish I
Yeah.
died on that hill. They also we had a span we I wish I died on the hill of they complained when I had a Spanish speaking babysitter, and I asked her to speak only Spanish to them because I grew up speaking Spanish,
Mhm.
not by any blood, but my dad was a
Yeah.
Spanish professor, and we were always
Yeah.
it was just around constantly,
Mhm.
and I speak it
Mhm.
fluently,
Yeah.
and my life is so enriched by the fact that I speak entirely fluent Spanish, right? So I didn't expect
Mhm.
that to be my kids' direct experience, but they complained, and I let it go, and
Yeah.
I wish I'd died on that hill. Um
How do you know now? Why do you know that now? Why are you like, "Oh, I wish I'd done it
I
then,"
don't
because
lie
maybe
awake and
that would
think
help
about
us.
it,
Yeah.
but I do think, like, looking but then there's so many but it's well, because this isn't a direct answer to your question,
Yeah.
but it's in contrast to all the times that I think we've kind of played it right, where there's no right, you know, but,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
our kids my son may be here, I'm not sure if he's awake. Our kids have really become their own people. There are in some ways
Mhm.
in which we're not unique in this, but there's some ways in which they're very much like one or both of us. There's some ways in which they are, wow, not like us at all. And we were pretty hands off, honestly. So there were a lot of hills we
Mhm.
did not die on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it would be boring if we always knew, you know, the right thing to do.
Oh, for sure.
Uh,
Yeah. I was just curious
but
why now you're like, "Oh, I wish I'd made them play piano because if I had,
oh, I
X would have happened."
because well, it's selfish, right? Because I'm thinking about things that bring me a lot of joy. I'm a terrible pianist, to be clear, but my parents made me play piano, and it turned. So what happened to me is they made me play piano, um, and I'm not a good singer still, but but it it but by forcing me to immerse myself in music,
Mhm.
I wound up being in this a cappella group at Yale that has absolutely determined the course of my social life. Like,
Yeah.
those are my dearest friends. And I, because I really did work hard to cultivate musical talent. I'm a good musician. I'm not a good singer, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and it brings me such joy. Like
Mhm.
and the amount, what I can hear in music and the joy that listening to music brings me that
Yeah.
I is profound. And my kids love music too, they're not trained, you know,
Yeah.
and so I don't know, maybe it wouldn't bring them that much joy. I'm projecting, you know, but I am
Yeah.
projecting stuff that brought me
Yeah.
joy that maybe it would bring them joy. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I don't have a good answer for that. I am projecting, but they
Yeah.
also are good at things and know things that I don't. So, and they certainly do not live joyless lives.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't
No, I
know,
get it.
you know,
I get it. I get it. Well, actually, a good transition to our closing question, which
yeah.
we always like to ask is, your kids might be listening to this. Is there anything you'd like to say to them other
But
than
they
go play
really
the piano?
literally might be listening. Yeah, I something that my husband wanted to say, and we did say, to our older one at their bat mitzvah,
Mhm.
uh, is something that really and I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's good. We're keeping that."
Yeah.
Was and I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember. This was,
Mhm.
they're 19, this is when they were 13. He the part that he was insisted on was to say, "We don't love you because X. We don't love you because you made us proud. We don't love you because you studied so hard to get to this day. We don't love you because you're smart. We don't love you because you're funny.
Mhm.
We just love you."
Yeah. Yes. That is core. I it's something I it's a way I wish I loved myself, actually. And so it's a way that I like to make sure my kids know that. But it's fun, and I hope by saying it out loud, I'm hoping that they get the gist of it. They're like, "We know, mom." But I totally agree with you. That ability to love someone just because, not for any reason, but just because they are them. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Building strong kids. Good
Let's
job.
do it. It's never too
Um,
late.
I know. Well, Lynn, thank you so much for spending a Monday with me.
You.
A rainy Monday on my end, a restart Monday on yours.
You start Monday. Let's do it.
Yes, thank you for participating in this, and thanks for Gold Comedy. I want to get involved.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I can send you the information, but for your listeners, I wanna make clear, and this is really true. This is, like, not just this is advertorial, but I really mean it. Um, yes, many of our members are, in their 20s, 30s, don't have kids, really, really, really intent on a career in comedy, meaning all the types and
Hmm.
types of, comedy there is in the world.
Yeah.
We also have a really powerful subset of members who are, quote unquote older,
Hmm.
30s, 40s, 50s older, um,
Hmm.
maybe empty nesters, maybe worked hard to get to the top or middle of their industry career, whatever,
Hmm.
and have, for whatever reason, have the desire or the burning desire or the mental space or the actual time to take a creative side hustle very seriously,
Hmm.
or a pivot. So we have women who are writing their first pilot in their 40s and very serious about it. We have women who are learning to do sketch comedy in their 40s and 50s and really serious about it. We have a grandmother, a young grandmother in North Carolina. She's
Hmm.
50, 51, takes care of her grandkids. She's a retired high school art teacher. She just debuted her solo show in New York City.
Hmm.
So like
Cool.
this, don't count yourself out
Yeah.
just
It's
because
never too late. Yeah.
the only that, like, you have to be just like the comics you see on TV, or, like, there is, so much that you can do that is both that taking this seriously and having fun, whether it's an outlet or actually, like, a new venture.
Hmm.
We are here for you, and you will find someone like you here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Also, some advice that we've collected through other interviews too is related to, in this context, obviously, mothers juggling motherhood and career and trying to also stay themselves and stay balanced. Like this concept of like having your third thing. Life should be, or maybe not a should, but life could be a three-legged stool, and the power of having that third thing, whether it's, I don't know, sports, knitting, or maybe it's comedy, like
Yep.
something that kind of helps you have balance, and an outlet. This sounds like the perfect thing.
Yes,
Um,
and I'll provide
so,
your listeners with a 10% off code.
oh, even better.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Awes
And then if you're excellent, we'll put you on the podcast.
There you
We'll
go.
show off your show. Fantastic. Well, very cool. Lynn, thank you so much. This was really fun to get to know you. I appreciate all the time.
I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so much good stuff in there from Lynn. Let me give V a call and tell her all about it. All right, V, are you there?
I'm here. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
How are you?
Light, easy question. Tell me everything. What's going on? You're
How are
good,
you
right?
today? How are you in this moment? Not overall, how are we?
In this moment, fantastic.
Yes.
And
Well, I
you?
just finished up hilarious, appropriately conversation with this wild, wonderful woman named Lynn Harris, who is in the world of comedy, and
Tell us
actually
about
managed to
Lynn.
find a way to merge her interest in kind of social justice
Yes.
plus interest in comedy. Who knew those two things could be
I'm obsessed
combined?
with
But
it.
in fact, they must be. Because if it's just serious all the time, people get turned off.
Who wants that?
Um, but so she now runs this a comedy community
Cool.
called Gold Comedy that is all about helping new / proven comedians like kind of get their start and refine their craft, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow.
But she's very much a woman who has found her way. I mean, I think a lot of, unless you're on and want to be on like a career trajectory that has a predefined path, like, I don't know, becoming a doctor or becoming a lawyer, like there's clearly, there's here's how you do that.
Yep.
For people that sit outside of that, and one of those places to sit is in
More
like the
creative
creative
side.
realm. Yes.
Yeah.
It's that path it's not like get this degree,
It's
get
not so
one
obvious.
of these 3 jobs, and then
Yep.
you'll be there. You kind of, you put it together yourself. And I feel like her career has a lot of that, where she had her own experience. Well, first I have to say, she for any Bostonians listening, she's a graduate. So, well, she grew up in Lexington, and she's a
Okay.
graduate of Windsor, which is an all-girls school, and to me is intimidating all-girls school, where I was like, I would be so stressed being in this community.
So not like you are now, obviously.
Clearly, yes. But her take was like, it was incredibly empowering, and like, dudes are idiots and they like muck up the system,
Love
and
it.
we have it so great. Like, why you gotta fuck around with it? She then went to Yale, and so
Okay.
learned how to coexist with dudes, and also realized that they do add value
Wasn't
as
so
well.
bad.
Yes.
Yeah, I have.
But has made her way. And one of the, I think, 2 things that stood out to me was, because I was kind of thinking about like this, okay, you're kind of going through this, you're meandering your way through a career where you kind of know where you're trying to get to, and so you're putting kind of one foot in front of the other, also while being a little bit open to what the end destination looks like a little flexible. And I loved this phrase that she said. Was in the mix with Gina Davis at one point, and she talks about the idea of seeking out spaces that make you feel like you. And I liked that. And as a feeler, I mean, there's so many different ways to be a human, but it's therefore different advice resonates differently. But for folks that are maybe in the creative realm, that aren't drawn to or convinced by a sort of dry, objective way, like slightly maybe on the verge of practical way to figure out what you want to do. This idea of sort of seeking out spaces and thinking about how you want to feel, and where do you feel like yourself? Where do you not feel like yourself, and what does that mean? And paying attention can also help you, is equally useful. And I would say, even for folks that are on those clear path worlds of becoming a lawyer, like thinking about, well, okay, so which law firm, how do I feel in this context of this law firm versus a different law firm? Like, I think, stating the obvious, but like, how feeling like you, and obviously within that is like having a deep understanding of who you are, or it helps to know that. But I thought that was good wisdom from our lady Gina Davis, who I also want to get her on the podcast. She's fascinating.
Yes.
All of her See It to Be It initiative, and then the pivot from Beetlejuice and Lead Their Own, like, what?
So good.
And then the other thing that dear Lynn, I thought was funny, or not funny, but the way a frame for how she talked about building her career and her life, really, was this idea of braiding things together, which I also thought was nice.
Hey, that
You're kind
brings
of
us back
pulling
to
from different parts to create your story.
I love that.
Yeah.
It reminds me of our one of our first episodes we talked with
Wait, did we? You're
oh
such
my
a
God, what is her name?
devoted listener.
Jenny Sleep.
Yes.
The braiding
Oh
of
my God,
things.
the braids.
Yeah.
Yes. Was that from a weird dream, or am I
It was
mixing
from
up
her book.
Yes.
It was in her book. Yeah. And then we talked about my vacuuming with my mom's
Yes.
vacuum and the hair braiding,
Was
whatever,
she talking about?
intertwining different.
Yeah. Was
What
it
was
related
her?
to her when she becoming a mom, when
I
she had her
want to say it
kid?
was like motherhood. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's
Huh.
so interesting, the concept of and I love that
Yeah.
of
Totally.
interweaving different parts of you, different parts of other people, lessons from
Yeah.
cool.
Well, yes.
They're
Good
onto something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also it makes it more expansive, and it kind of suggests that as you get older, you're actually creating more
Right.
threads that you can
Yeah.
pull in, or recognizing past threads that you'd left aside
Yeah.
for a while. So
Mhm.
yeah. Anyway, she was really interesting to chat with. There's so many different ways to build a life, obviously. So
Did you
yeah,
giggle a little?
we did.
Love
She was
that.
also dealing with her own version of grief recently. I feel like she's been in a hard season of just age-wise, parent figures passing away and dealing
That's
with
very
that.
hard. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
how do you deal appropriately with humor while
Yeah.
not dismissing the very real feelings that stimulates and brings up? That's
Yeah.
hard.
Totally.
Aw.
So yeah, that was
I love
him.
that.
I know.
What a full lady.
It makes me want to return to one of my greatest forms of joy, which is stand-up comedy. And I did see John Mulaney recently.
Love.
He swung through Boston. This was one of the most spontaneous things I've ever done in my life, which makes
I
me
was
sound
tell me about
so
this.
lame when I tell you what it is. Maybe in my in whatever phase of my life that I'm in, where spontaneity is not really easy to do. I may have mentioned this. Our current nanny wonderfully has baked in weekly babysitting nights, Thursday nights. So we
Stop
have
that.
incentive to line up plans and socialize, because this era, I keep saying these things. I don't like these terms.
You love Taylor Swift?
We are a thing that Jason and I have loosely decided needed to be true was we're going to focus on friends and building new friendships or investing in existing ones. So anyway, now we have this open Thursday night as a thing to fill with friends. And of course we haven't really pulled it together to do it properly, because also Jason's my friend and we need time together too. But it was coming up on Thursday. I think it was that day. I was getting my hair cut finally, and I was like, what should I do? What should we do tonight? And I found last minute tickets to see John Mulaney at what's the name of the theater? And it makes me laugh because it's there's a penis reference in it, which is a joke that John Mulaney made.
What?
No, it's not as weird. Once you hear it, you're like, oh, I didn't really think about that. The Wang Theater.
The Wang. Okay. Yeah. I would not have fun about that. Go off.
Yes. Anyway, so that was awesome, and just did reconfirm that I just fucking love to laugh, and it's so nice. Not as an individual thing. It feels spiritual. It feels like you're connecting to something above and around you.
Laughing in a room of people laughing is so funny. It makes everything that much more funny, even if it's not. Yeah. It just feels good, and it makes you want to laugh harder because you're you're laughing. Okay.
Yes.
I want that too. It's fantastic.
I totally agree. I
love it. Aw.
Yeah.
I love that.
That also, random anecdote of advice for anybody anybody out there that would resonate with. I'm stealing this from someone else, but I also just started a shared notes doc with Jason of ideas for family activities, dinners. What are the movies that are told to watch but forget about?
Oh, that's fun.
Restaurants to go to or trips to go on, because how often do these ideas like in the moment, you're like, oh my God, I need to remember to go to this place.
Yeah.
All right. Like when we have a chance, we should go see this. Or at night, what should we watch? Oh, so-and-so said this. So now it's shared. We're all going to
That's
drop it
cute.
in there.
Is it
I
just the
know,
two of you?
not, and if just the two of us.
I love it.
Of course, guess who's going to fill it out most?
Yeah.
Probably.
Obviously.
It's currently empty.
So good.
But anyway, a nice way to capture things because our brains have too much in them.
Love it.
But yeah. How's your joy index?
My joy is good. Last night I did something fun and got a massage for the first time in a long time, and it naturally turned into a not like a therapy session, but kind of like I hated this and loved it. She was like, once you're like, we want to go this on tonight. I was like, I mean, all like my shoulders and like my back. I was like, girl, I'm big stressed. And we got like 2 minutes in. She was like, and I was like, what? She's like, do you feel inflamed? And I was like, what would that feel like?
Yeah.
I was like, can you
Right.
tell me what you feel? Like, whatever. And she basically, I don't know if she was like intuitive or something, but it was so interesting. Like, I just feel like she like was acknowledging all the things that I had just said to my partner of like, I have not taken much care of myself in the past like year and a half or 2 years. And like, I'm not fueling my body the way it needs to be fueled, and I'm not moving it the way it's to be moved. And like, I'm carrying my stress in these certain spots and like all these things. And she was like saying that, dang, that's crazy that you can feel that. And it was like such a like beautiful, but also like sad, not in a bad way, but like interesting reminder of like the physical weight and stress and everything that we carry that comes from like the power of thought on what the things that we think about and then how I manifest in the body physically is very interesting.
Oh my God. Yes. The old
I felt like
mind-body connection. Yeah.
like she was just who I was meant to like connect to that
Oh,
last night.
like
Like I
that,
just felt like,
Lynn.
oh, like there was like a reason why. Like we just had a really cool talk about just like treating ourselves more kindly and like I don't know, the you know, unnecessary and dangerous uh action of like comparing yourself to others or comparing yourself to yourself and like who you used to be and mourning the loss of things that you used to be when in reality like when you were that you like also didn't appreciate it.
I know.
So it was like such an interesting, it felt more almost like a mental like massage that was nice.
Oh,
So yeah, that was my joy. Is like I had a cool conversation that like I think I needed it when I got it. So that was cool.
Like that reminds me, you're so good at like noticing these things. You had a similar, different but similar experience months ago. It's like you went to a coffee shop. It was around when you were considering like the doula, like death doula stuff in a new way, and this like guy came up to you and
Yeah,
in some ways got into a conversation on this topic.
Yeah, his dead wife, or sorry,
Yeah.
wife and Pat. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I think it's so cool. I don't know, in like a not hippy dippy whatever, but like the universe, I feel like things happen or you like come cross paths with people when you are supposed to. And sometimes it's just like, even if it's like that fleeting moment, I never see her again or whatever, it was kind of like what I said in a previous episode. I feel like oftentimes you, even if it's not a brand new lesson, like I don't think that anything that I talked with this woman about last night was like mind blowingly like, oh my God, I never thought that or whatever. But to be validated by others and just like, yes, you're on the right path, or yes, I thought this before, or yes, I've been through that. Like it just feels really nice. I think that that's probably a lot of like listeners and people who are out there going through their obstacles and challenges and day to day, whatever, escaping to listen here. There's something just so nice about knowing that other people have been through the same things or are actively going through the same things. And you're like, oh, okay, I could do that to them. Like, no. It's very validating and comforting.
Yeah.
So
also nice to have someone doing that well, massaging you.
Yeah. It was interesting because it was also not like a traditional, like, I don't know, like I was like, I want you to like rub the shit out of my back. And like, I want, whatever. And it was definitely more of like, she was like, you are like inflamed. And I was like, okay, again, unclear.
Yeah.
She could not explain how that physically felt. She just explains what she could tell.
Yeah.
And I was like, So it wasn't like, oh my God, it was the best massage of my life, but it was nice. Like, it was good. And I feel, I don't know, maybe a little looser today, so I'll take it.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was what I needed.
Yes.
Not always what I wanted, but what I needed.
Yes. I need to book a massage. I miss
It's
massage.
fantastic.
I miss massage.
Why? Fantastic thing. Love masseuse. Appreciate you.
Yes. Also, they must have some wild stories because there are some backs you don't really want to touch. You know what I mean?
Oh, I can't. I don't.
Yeah.
Also, like, exhausting. What an exhausting thing to be doing for an hour straight. Like, no, thank you.
Yes.
I couldn't do that for a full day of work of being a masseuse. No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Amazing. I love you too.
Thanks, Lynn, for the
I really want
giggles.
a massage.
Go get a massage.
You, everyone's doing great. Go get a massage.
We're all doing great. That could be a special thing today.
Yes. Book that massage.
Should be.
Take a minute and book it.
All
right. I love you. Keep getting less inflamed.
I'm gonna try. I don't really know how, but we're working on it.
Put that flame out.
Yes.
All right. I love you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode and we can reach even more rock stars like you. The Mothers is a production of Backline Media, shining a light on those who carry the team.